is an absolute disclaimer. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm imparting my conscience, my convictions. That is all. Hold close to that. This is the disclaimer. This is not legal advice. Okay. See you in the next one. Hey guys, this is an introduction of the next. There's going to be 7 in this series. I'll try to keep them short. This is basically the introduction to the religious exemption test that's been created. And I got asked why I opted to request a religious exemption, one, at all, but versus the options given of a medical exemption from the injections or tablets, the mask and testing and temperature checking, etc., and why I've requested exemption from those. From a religious standpoint, not the option of medical, because I could qualify, or philosophical, which again I could propose one, but even as of January 6th of 2022, Indiana is now allowing an exemption for natural immunity, which I think is entertaining. But why the religious test? Well, medical is going to be changing and adapting as it has been since the guidance and policies have been changing consistently since February of 2020. Consistently. As far as the philosophical standpoint, if they decided to set aside the Constitution during a state of declared national emergency, the philosophical exemption would be, of course, eliminated. And I've heard concern that, of course, the religious could be done away with as well if they decided to make it a non-constitutional issue. But throughout all of this, you'll see where my positioning is. So this is the introduction and why I applied for a religious exemption versus the philosophical or medical, or for example, in Indiana, why I didn't request a natural immunity exemption. So this is the introduction. The next video will be on the exemption form itself, the religious test that my corporation that I'm employed with has created. Wow. The next video behind that will be the beginning of page 1 of the exemption status information profile for me, Evan Connican, January 7th, 2022, submitted to my company. The video after that, video 4, I guess, in the series, will be an explanation of the mRNA injections, the gene therapy that's being purported as a vaccine, but it doesn't meet the definition of vaccine. And I don't care if they change the definition of a vaccine that's been standing for 85 years. It's not going to change the fact it's not a vaccine in any way, shape, or form. We're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on the PCR testing that is now under a Class 1 recall, and the swab tests, and one of the ingredients in that, as well as the efficacy of masks that has been changed consistently in the past 2 years. The video after that is video 5, and it's discussing the difference between positive law and color of law. And any time that it's not positive law, which means it's not constitutional or under amendment, you're going to see things like color of law, which means it looks, smells, and tastes like a law, but it is not positive law, which means it doesn't apply to all persons. It applies to certain persons or certain classes and or categories. For example, you're going to see terms like guidance, policy, administrative order, statute, rule, code, mandate are some of the terms used for things purported and offered up in color of law. And we're going to address that a little bit too. The difference between something being constitutional, or they're not going to say unconstitutional, but they will say non-constitutional issue. And please understand that in that video, in video 5, we'll be discussing briefly the difference between positive law, color of law, and how the remedy is always in the law, because there is not a judge, an attorney, or a lawyer that is going to find themselves or put themselves in a position where they can be, one, incarcerated, or two, litigated against. So the remedy is in the law, and we're going to see that in the USC, the United States Codes. The United States Code, which has been adopted by all states since '72, so any issue that is no longer a constitutional issue or addressed in the court system, either under criminal, it falls under equity, or civil, which means it's going to be a monetary, which means it's a contract, and how mandate falls under color of law and is an offer to contract. But we'll get into that, and we'll touch on 18 USC 241 and 242. So that's the remedy within the law. If they try to go and make it a non-constitutional issue, your ability to redress them will be available in 18 USC 241, 242. 242 is deprivation of rights under color of law, and 241 is conspiracy against rights. And that goes anywhere from management, administration, legal departments, HR, any and all persons included and involved. And then you can take that through the state level if you need to, and of course that can be redressed up to and against OSHA, EPA, EEOC, CDC, and any other legislative, quote-unquote, legislative branch that is not legislative but is enacting mandates, policy, codes, guidances, etc., codes, rules, and statutes under color of law. Looks, smells, and tastes like a law, but it's not positive law. It doesn't apply to all persons. For example, the mandates for employers to offer to employees is left in the position that if you're not employed, you don't have to worry about it, right? It's a certain class of persons, a distinction, a category of persons. But we'll get into that. So here we go. This is the introduction to this, and where we're going to go, and why and follow is the religious test that was created by my corporation. Video 3 is going to be page 1 of the exemption form. Video 4 is going to be regarding the mRNA and how that stands religiously, etc. 5 is going to be the difference between positive law and color of law. 6 is going to be the 8 parts of a lawful contract. Since the mandate is an offer to contract, you need to know exactly what is involved in a contract to make a informed decision, which is really hard considering they haven't released any information. The Freedom of Information Act requests are being stalled, so you can't really make an informed decision. And the tests, the trials aren't even going to complete into the earliest one is going to be 2023. And 7, the last video, is going to be my religious exemption and conditional acceptance offer that I have submitted to my corporation. And that will be read off to you in video 7. So stay tuned, stay close. I know this was a really long introduction, but we've got a lot of information to get through, and this all started Friday morning, and we'll continue. Keep you in the loop. Stay for the next one.